chapter begins, and Luffy shouts, "No way in hell, this is a lie. He would never kill Vivi's dad. Sabo wouldn't do something like this in a million years." Robin says, "I am with you there. The Revolutionary Army is against the world nobles, not regular kings." News spreads around. Revolutionary Army declares war on celestial dragons. King Cobra of Arabasta assassinated by Revolutionary Chief of Staff, Sabo. His daughter Princess Vivi is missing. Luffy orders, "Set course for Arabasta right now." Zoro says, "Like I have been saying, what good is that gonna do? The man's dead. Besides, Vivi was last seen at Mary Jawai's." Luffy says, "Then let's go there." Someone was hiding, and he says, "Are we heading to Mary Jawai's?" "Not good, damn it, it's too muffled to hear." Zoro angrily says, "You moron, that's the den of the enemy." Luffy angrily replies, "Damn straight, what's wrong, Zoro? You chicken?" Zoro says, "Calm down. I'm just saying we don't have any leads." Sanji was crying and saying, "Where are you, Vivi-chan? How are you feeling? Please be safe." Chopper got shocked and said, "Vivi's dad is dead? But he was so nice. Even to us pirates." Usopp adds, "Yeah, he was the best king around." Name is sad and says, "I am torn between worrying about Vivi and worrying about how she's taking all this." Jinbei says, "Seems like this year's reverie was quite tumultuous." Frankie says, "This is the same bro we met in Dressrosa, right?" Brooke says, "I have never known anyone to be discontent with the way Arabasta is ruled." Nami says, "I can't take anymore. Vivi, where are you?" Luffy adds, "That does it. We are gonna save her." Chopper adds, "Let's do it." Angry Zoro says, "All of you knock it off." Then he tells Luffy, "Luffy, remember what you said about Ace that one time?" Luffy remembers him saying, "Ace has his own adventures and feels regretting." Zoro continues, "You trusted him to make his own way up until the point where he actually needed help. So why underestimate Vivi? She can hold her own. If the opportunity presents itself, we can pitch in then. But in the meantime, have faith and quit belly aching." Luffy angrily says, "You can't stop us from worrying." Luffy was angry, and he continues saying, "You are an Oni, no, an Onigashima." Nami adds, "You are a green Kaido." Chopper adds, "A green mom." Sanji adds, "Crappy moss head." Zoro tells them to shut up. Robin says, "There were a lot of developments while we were in Wano." Nami adds, "And things seem to be escalating fast." Robin continues, "The abolishment of the warlords drove the elite pirates back to the seas. As a result, the Cross Guild was founded and Buggy the bombastic clown became an emperor." Luffy says, "There has to be some mix-up." Robin says, "Luffy, there are other familiar names. Would you like to hear the news about them too?" Luffy says, "Nah, I'll leave it up to you. Just tell me if there's anything big to keep an eye on." Robin smiles and says, "Okay, I'll do that. I wouldn't want to overload you with information." Luffy lies on the ground and says, "Sabo's incident, he had a real upbringing. He just wants to make sure no one else has their freedoms taken the way he did." Then he remembers Sabo's dream, and Sabo says, "I want to see the world and write a book about it." Luffy smiles and says, "Okay, my turn. I am gonna." The three of us swore an oath. Me, him, and Ace. Then he tells them about his real dream, and everyone gets shocked. Jinbei says, "What did you just say?" Nami said, "What?" Brooke cries and laughs and says, "You are too much." Usopp says, "Are you serious?" Frankie laughs and says, "That sounds great, it's perfect." Sanji also laughs. Chopper, I think someone needs to check his head. Robin is totally confused, and Chopper is fully excited. Usopp says, "Come on, there's no way anyone can do that." Luffy says, "But I'll have a shot if I become the king of the pirates." Usopp says, "I don't even know how you come up with this stuff." Luffy says, "I've never mentioned this to any one of you before." Usopp says, "Nope, but it wouldn't have made much of a difference since it's impossible." Luffy says, "That means I only told Shanks, Ace, Sabo, and I guess that's it." Robin questions, "How did they react?" Luffy smiles and says, "They all laughed," and Shanks had some tears rolling down his face. Then Luffy, lying on the ground, smiles and says, "That's what I want at the end of my dream." Jinbei laughs and says, Well, I joined this crew willingly, so I can't exactly say it's not my problem. I sure picked a troublesome captain. Chopper is excited and says, "That's awesome, Luffy! Your dream's amazing!" Nami smiles and says, "It sure sounds like you." Frankie adds, "Since you gotta be the Pirate King to even make that possible, we'd better find that last road poneglyph, then it's off to Laugh Tale." Robin says, "You make it sound so easy, Frankie. It's been a long time since that poneglyph was last seen. We don't even have a clue where to look." The scene shifts to the Navy HQ in the New World. A Navy man says, "We have intercepted a transmission. It's from Flame Emperor Sabo to the Queendom." Another Navy man says, "Where is it coming from? We have to pinpoint the origin. He is not using a white transponder snail to jam his call. He must be desperate. I doubt he will speak for long." Then the scene shifts and one of the elders says, "We have traced his position." Emu replies, "Where is he?" "Leloucha Kingdom." The elders are shocked as Emu asks them about kingdoms. Emu continues, "That's one of the 8 nations that rebelled a few days ago. It would be an ideal place for Sabo to seek refuge." Elders, as they accept Emu's decision, say, "I see, he is an unlucky man. No, this is fate." The scene shifts to the Queendom, and Sabo says, "Sorry, I know I have caused you all a lot of trouble." Koala says, "We are so glad to hear you are safe." Sabo continues, "Dragon-san, I wasn't the one who killed King Cobra." Captain Morley says, "Of course not. I perish the thought. I totally had faith in you. We knew you were innocent, Sabo-kun." Sabo continues, "Listen, when I was in Mary's Ways, I saw something unbelievable." The scene shows Leloucha Kingdom, and someone says, "The sky's getting dark. Are those clouds? It's almost like there's something huge up there." The King of Leloucha says, "You heathens will regret this. When Navy HQ gets word of this treason, you will all be impaled." The princess says, "Make sure they leave a few for me, Papa. I will never forgive these dirty people." One of the guards says, "Your Majesty, no, I mean Lord Seki. Please just confess to your crimes. We don't want to kill you." Sabo continues, "It happened in the throne room at Pangaea Castle. I thought that there was no king of the world, but the empty throne wasn't empty. I saw, as far as the surveillance division is concerned, no one detected anything abnormal today. No information was intercepted. As for Leloucha, that country never existed." And then we see some destructive thing that came from black clouds and completely destroyed the whole kingdom of Leloucha. Koala says, "We have reports of sea quakes on the southeastern shore. Beware of tsunamis." A few days later, a heavy tsunami approaches, and Thousand Sunny gets caught in it. Jinbei says, "Furl the sails, the wind is too strong." Luffy says, "Are we close to making land, Nami?" Nami says, "It feels like we have entered an island's climate zone." Robin says, "Aren't you looking dashing, Chopper?" Chopper, feeling happy, says, "Tama gave me this hat to shield me from the snow." Luffy sees something and says, "Hey Nami, what in the world is that?" Then we see a giant and destructive eddy current. Nami says, "What is that thing?" "It's like a giant warm eddy, an eddy current, but it's going upwards?" Brooke says, "It must mean a mass of warm water is being forced up at this point from somewhere. It looks like an updraft." Nami says, "We have to run, Jinbei, we will be swallowed up." Jinbei says, "Leave it to me." Luffy sees something and says, "Wait, somebody's trapped in the water." Nami says, "For real? How could anyone be alive in there? Is it a mermaid?" Sanji says, "No, he's right. I can definitely hear a lady in distress." Nami says, "Are you guys serious? Even if someone's in there, what are we supposed to do?" Zoro stands up and says, "I will cut it." Sanji said, "You better not leave a scratch on the lady." Zoro uses his technique, one sword style, bird dance. The slash from his sword cuts through the water and splits it into 2 pieces. Chopper stands up and says, "Hey guys, what's all the commotion? Amiga Sahat Chopper here reporting for duty." But the wind is strong and he falls down and starts flying. Usopp gets shocked and says, "Chopper, why did you come out?" Luffy catches Chopper, but they both get flown away. Usopp is terrified and shocked. He sees something and shoots towards it. Suddenly, they see a kid who comes out of the water. In shock, Usopp says, a kid popped out. And it was none other than one of the worst generation jewelry Bonnie, with 320 million berries, and the chapter ends. The chapter starts with Luffy, who is already holding Chopper and hurtling through the air, spots someone and yells, "Who is that?" He realizes it is none other than the young girl, Jewelry Bonnie. Luffy holds Jewelry Bonnie by ankle to save her from drowning in the water grave below and exclaims she just popped out the water. Jewelry Bonnie is barely conscious with water spitting out of her mouth as she gasps for air, coughing and panting. Jewelry Bonnie coughs and realizes that she is saved, but is unable to recognize the people who rescued her, probably because of her watery eyes, and yells who is there. Before she could figure out her rescues, her attention turns to something important, and she asks, "Wait, where did that monster go?" She looks below and she catches a sight that made her eyes turn wide. She shouts to warn the Straw Hats that there is something below them. Bonnie tells them to look down. As the crew look below, they are left shocked. One of the crew members yell, "There is something scary beneath us." The crew members recognize it is Mega Shark below, and Thousand Sunny is looking like a tiny dot in front of the mega creature. As the creature is about to swallow them, the group decide to scram before it surfaces. The creature breaks out of the surface of ocean water with a snap and knocks the ship in the air. On one hand, Sunny is knocking in the air, and on the other hand, Zoro, who is clinging to the deck, equips his sword and yells, "What the hell is this thing? It is a shark, but no, it can't be because it is too big, and it is made of metal." Jinbei, who is controlling the ship, tells the crew to hold on tight, as it is going to be a rough landing. Jinbei then sees that Luffy and others fell in the sea as a splash sound can be heard. As Jinbei is a fisherman, he has to go and save the crew. He orders Frankie to take the helm of the ship and steer the ship over to them. Jinbei asks Frankie if he got it. Jinbei jumps into the ocean water to rescue the crew, while Frankie realizes that the ship Sunny needs a rapid speed, and therefore, he activates the keel attachment. As he does so, the parts of ship clank and then click. Frankie pulls out a rabbit screw propeller and begins to rush the ship in rapid speed to save it from the shark. The metal shark, however, does not step, and with beep sounds, it fires several torpedoes at the ship. The torpedoes move in the direction of ship, and within a split second, there is a big blast. With a massive boom, some filler sounds can be heard from the crew, and one of them yells, "What was that?" With the ship turning upside down, the crew finds it a crap and realize that they are capsizing. With that, they are knocked towards the watery grave. As they fell in the water where the mega shark is waiting for them, the crew lets out a desolate cry. Jinbei, hearing the sound, quickly rushes to save Luffy, Chopper, and Bonnie. Jinbei exclaims that they don't need to worry as he is here. Jinbei concludes that the noise he heard sounded like an explosion. He then grabs the three and tells them that they are heading up. Jinbei reaches at the surface of the water and sees a tremendous current in which steering a ship is next to impossible. At that moment, the metal shark widely opens his mouth and turns its attention to Jinbei. Jinbei sees that the shark has fired a cannon at them and orders everyone to hold their breath as they are going to dive. The three of them coughs, take a deep breath, and then Jinbei says, "Here we go." Jinbei with the three crew members dive back into the water and avoids the cannon attack. Jinbei with the crew swims to the ocean surface from inside. The Straw Hats, on the other hand, realize that the waves are too strong and they can't get back up. The shark's attention turns to the Straw Hats because the ship is drowning. The shark makes a swishing sound and is about to slurp the Straw Hats. The shark realizes a mega creature behind it. The mega creature is a Vega Force 1 robot. The mega robot sees the shark and starts punching it. While the robot is continuously bashing the shark, Luffy and his crewmates are still struggling to come to the surface of water. Meanwhile, on a nearby island resides G-14 Naval Base. At the base, a girl wearing glasses says, "Be good boys and girls, as it is medicine time now." The girl is the Navy headquarters captain, Toshigi, who is looking after the children previously rescued from the Vegapunk Island. One of the kids say, "I am only drinking this because Toshigi said so." The kids find the medicine yuck. "Mocha," the girl says, "we have all shrunk quite a lot, have not we?" Toshigi replies that absolutely, as she hardly recognizes Mocha. Tashigi is then interrupted by someone who asks her if she got a second. The girl says to Tashigi that the talk is about the pest, Helmeppo, and asks her, can she do something about it? The girl is G-Chief Commander Vice Admiral Dahl. Tashigi replies that she cannot do anything as Helmeppo's best friend's life is on the line, and she too is worried about Captain Kobe, as he is their junior as a Marine after all. Soon, Navy Headquarters Lieutenant Commander, part of SWORD, Helmeppo says, please, you have to listen. I am begging you, we are all on the same side. Along with him, Navy Headquarters Commander, part of SWORD. Hibari says, I second this. I owe Kobe-senpai. They are begging Navy HQ Rear Admiral and fellow SWORD member, Prince Groose, to go with them to Hachinosu to rescue Kobe. Gruss says that Pirate Island is the Emperor Blackbeard's home turf, and they will be swarmed by pirates if they stick their noses into that beehive. And that is why it is called Hachinosu. Helmeppo weeps and says Egghead is so close to us. Why can't we deploy a Seraphim? Groose yells, are you crazy? Gruss then tells both of them to calm down. Groose then says that at the moment, we can't get a hold of Drake, the SWORD group leader, either, and we are in no position to act right now. Is that clear? Luffy's group is on the land because of Jinbei. There, Bonnie says to Luffy, how can you not know who I am? She then tells him that she is also a part of Worst Generation, just like him. Bonnie says, we were both on Sabati 2 years ago. Luffy surprisingly replies, you were part of it too. Bonnie then asks him that, what is the deal with his wanted poster? She thought that his hair is white now, and it also made a stir about it in the paper. Luffy replies that he looks like that when he is totally free. Bonnie asks him, what does that mean? She then asks him, is not he worried about the rest of his crew? Luffy replies that they will figure it out on their own. Bonnie says she cannot believe he has got the Knight of the Sea, Jinbei, with you. Jinbei says, since we are talking on the subject, what happened to your ship and crew? Bonnie says that she came alone as the metal monster back there gobbled up her ship. She says that reminds me I am starving. Luffy say let's go and find a restaurant as I am hungry too. Chopper asks, Luffy, does he have money? Bonnie says, you guys don't have a clue that you are not going to find any food joints here as this is a government island, and does she need to spell everything out? Bonnie says, we are on Egghead Island. The island that is said to be 500 years in the future. Dr. Vegapunk's research lab is also based here. Luffy exclaims that he knows the name Vegapunk. Bonnie says that Vegapunk is the reason she is here as they have got business. The big Vegapunk robot has now put up the 1,000 Sunny, saving everyone from drowning. The crew gasps for air, feeling that they are finally above the waves. Frankie becomes excited. Same goes for the others. Zoro, however, does not let his guard down. Just as the crew is excited seeing the giant robot, they hear a voice that says, this won't do at all. It is another failure. I wonder why, though. Perhaps overriding primal desires is simply impossible. The crew sees somebody's body coming out. A young girl comes out, leaving the group surprised. Franks thanks her for saving them. The girl replies to him, whoever you are, I ordered the mechanical shark to scout. Report and fire. But if it keeps trying to eat ships, there won't be anything left to salvage. I must have bungled the programming. The girl then says, forgive me, but did you say I just saved you? You naive pirates! I work for the government despite me mediocrity. And they like to call me their scientific genius. The girl then reveals her identity saying you can call me Dr. Vegapunk. The crew is left in awe.